So, you dream of traveling throughout Europe. You've imagined yourself eating croissants in Paris, biking through the streets of Amsterdam, or even enjoying a glass of wine at a Tuscan vineyard. Basically, living your best life. But there's a problem. You're lazy. You know you should start researching. You know you should start planning. You know you should book that ticket, but yet you keep putting it off. Instead, you tell yourself that you'll do it later, that you'll wait until you have more money, more time, or someone to go with. Days turn into weeks turn into months, and before you know it, another year has passed. And you're still in the same place. You're scrolling through everyone's Instagram photos of them sunbathing in the south of France, country hopping throughout Europe, all while feeling like life is passing you by. And you sit there wishing that it was you. You know that you're capable of more, and you know that deep down, if you really wanted to do this, you can make it happen. It's like you've got this little voice in your head that's telling you you've got more potential, but instead, you continue to just push it down, like put it in the back of your mind, letting it all pile up because you are avoiding the work that it takes to put in to make this happen. And then that feeling builds and builds and builds until it turns into acceptance. And then you say, maybe I'll go next year instead. Maybe this wasn't the year for me to go. Maybe this is the way my life is supposed to be right now. But is it? And then the new year rolls around, and with it, the same goals you've had before. This year, you're really gonna do it. You're really gonna take that trip. You start off strong, you're watching travel videos, you're saving things on Pinterest of where you wanna go. But then procrastination creeps in, like a friend who always cancels plans. And then you know what happens? Another year goes by where you're labeling yourself as someone who's not ready when that couldn't be further from the truth. So, how do you actually break free from this? How do you start getting things rolling? Most travel influencers will just tell you to book the flight and start planning, but that's not enough. You know what the real problem is? Something called inertia. So, in physics, inertia is the tendency of objects that are currently at rest to stay at rest, and objects that are in motion to stay in motion. Your travel plans work the same way. You see, we make the first step in our minds so big and intimidating that it seems like impossible to tackle. And then we just end up avoiding it completely. Instead, we start distracting ourselves with excuses. I'll go when I have more money. I'll go when I'm not feeling scared. I'll go when the time is right. But the truth is, those are just forms of procrastination. So, how do you actually start? Here's the secret: small steps, baby steps, taking it one step at a time. Instead of saying, I need to plan an entire trip to Europe, start with something simple like watching a YouTube video of the destination that you're curious about, going on social media and looking up fun activities for solo travelers. Take a look to see how much PTO you can take this year and what time of year you may want to travel in. And then once you do those things, you'll start to feel momentum. You'll want to know more. And before you know it, you're going to be planning your flight, figuring out your dates, making hotel reservations, all that stuff. It all compounds. You just got to start small, and then that'll help you get through the rest. And just like that, you've broken the inertia. Congratulations. Another trick you can do is the 2-minute rule. If planning a trip feels overwhelming, just tell yourself that you'll spend 2 minutes doing one thing, whether that's researching flights, watching a YouTube video, or reading a travel blog. Because once you start, it's easier to keep going. And again, you're building that momentum that you need to get this trip planned. Once you take the first step, you realize one, it's easier than you think. Two, it's easier to just keep going if you've already started because you get into a flow. And three, the rest just follows naturally because at the end of the day, traveling solo isn't about the entire planning process, like planning the actual trip. It's about taking that first step because in the end, the time is going to pass anyway. So you might as well do something now. Will you look back and wonder, what if I had gone on that trip that I've been wanting to go on forever? Or will you finally book that trip and thank yourself later? And as the great Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, you just have to take the first step.